The pin is full. The swarm will release for both teams, bringing destruction upon everything in its path.
We're back here with the HGC Crucible, where No Tomorrow are just bringing the pain to their opponents, even in death, that gotta dig deep.
Even in death, there's no tomorrow.
Fact.
That's what they're saying.
And honestly, I mean, right now, I don't know what. Do you YOLO? Do you play standard?
You draft Butcher, I'm telling you. No, I mean, that was the most standard draft we've seen for them. And it didn't come down to the draft so much as some of their early game decisions. So it wasn't the draft that game. Like, there's no way you could say the draft lost that game. It was more of, we gave up a lot. We tried to kill Chen. That was their biggest problem. And then they just gave up pushes. I mean, the early exchange there, I mean, it's an even trade. But the minute that top beacon, they couldn't kill that. It was just enough time for Chen to wait for the rest of the team. And it was macro decisions more than it was draft decisions that game. And I think that's where they struggled a little bit. So, again, we haven't seen the best even in death yet. And I don't know if it's nerves. The first two games I feel were very draft related. The last game was very macro related. We just need them to put it together and try and fight their way back here.
Well, we are about to find out what the fourth map of the series will be, and it's looking like Sky Temple, once again, even in death, wanted the map choice, which means they will be second pick in this battleground.
I mean, everything that they said in the interview was, we are globally focused team. Dahaka, Falstad, things like that. Nidus Network. This is the first opportunity that we've seen for a larger battleground. Dragonshire, Tomb of the Spider Queen, Brax's Holdout are some of our smaller battlegrounds in this pool. They took map pick last time. They're taking it this time, but they're taking us to a bigger battleground. So I wonder, will we see our first pick of Dahaka finally? Will we see the more prioritization towards Falstad for Lutano? Those are the questions that they need to answer. They don't have much of a choice. Their tournament lives or their potential dreams are on the line to get back into the HGC Pro scene. Yeah,
you're fighting for that spot in the Pro League, you know, going into the second half of the year, and like it's worth so much. It's the salary, it's the prestige, it's the potential to play with the best and have that title of a pro gamer. And No Tomorrow, they're one game away from holding on to it.
No Tomorrow has come out, and they've looked like a team that knows what they're doing. They're very deliberate with their drafts. They're very deliberate with their macro strategies, and I like what we've seen from them so far. I mean, outside of a few small hiccups, which you can expect from basically any team in any scene, they've played really well throughout 3 games so far. Let's see if they can seal the deal.
Abathur ban. J-How, you already mentioned Lutano on Falstad. Then we got Frozen X and Zagara. Those heroes could be prioritized a bit higher in the draft than normal. There's the Zeratul taking that away as well. Another big comfort pick.
The Zeratul's probably his best map. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. The amount of angles that you can take with Zeratul, it gives you a lot of room to work because it's more of an open battleground. So Genji banned out, Zeratul picked up. Abathur banned out against Even in Death shows that No Tomorrow did their homework, because in the finals, game number 1 of our playoffs to get here, Abathur was a pickup for Even in Death.
Yeah, that's true. And they made it look really good.
Multiple times, actually, in the last week.
Well, the new Malfurion, fantastic start to the draft. Those two powerhouses. Uther will be snapped in as they don't want to worry about the support option in the bans. Tiger going to be comfortable on the Uther, and then Greymane. You know, these are just meta picks. So many strong heroes grabbed right out of the gates. The globals have been ignored so far. Dahaka, Zagara, Falstad, all still big options on the table as we go into the second ban phase.
All right, so Even in Death used to rely pretty heavily on the Abathur Greymane composition in Sky Temple. They did it twice in the final week. Now Abathur's banned out against them. Greymane on the other side. So you start to fall back towards other things that you've done in the past. We haven't seen Dahaka once yet. This is a map that heavily favors Dahaka. We saw Falstad last game. That's something that we know Lutano can play and would do well here. The problem is you now have Zeratul that is the threat towards Falstad. Despite your barrel roll and your best efforts, at level 1, Zeratul with Vorpal Blade can stay on you. It's very difficult to stay away from that. So with Varian being banned, and Uther on the other side already, I feel like that might be more towards a play on Illidan, but Uther on the other side is terrifying.
Yeah, it becomes hard to justify. Hammer, you already got to worry about the Hammer of Justice, then you got Divine Storm as a potential double stun from Uther alone. Not the happiest thing for a young Illidan to deal with. Dahaka was removed as that global top lane. Honestly, I think that might even be...
Isn't Illidan like 100,000 years old? How's he young? He's spent 10,000 years.
That's true.
Young Illidan?
Young Illidan. Tyrael, Tychus, the Thai baby beanies.
All I need is a Tyrande to follow that up. Either way, so Tyrael will be the hero. You know, this is an interesting thing. Even in death, obviously, has a little bit of history here. We won't dig into that one. But Tyrael obviously does well on this battleground just because of his holy ground post-16 around that boss to get some control. But on the side of No Tomorrow, they still got to look at warriors. And I think right now, you know, we haven't talked about Arthas much in NA the last 2 days. Johanna obviously does well in a lot of areas, but Muradin has not. He was banned out twice by Even in Death. Let's see if that's what Urho will pick up here.
Seems very likely for Urho as the warrior. Beyond that, they need a solo lane still. 9 seconds. They're going to go for the fall side global.
They have complete global control here.
Yeah.
And it's what Even in Death said that they do, and yet they have prioritized it the least, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, False at Zeratul, if they get the jump on you, lights out, man. That's a lot of damage, a lot of pressure that can surprise you for sure. Last pick here.
If Lutano is not going to be on Tychus, this has to be another ranged hero. I mean,
Li Ming in this situation.
Zagara is scary to play into a Zeratul. You know, Frozen X potentially. It's going to be Tychus and Frozen X generally going to be the backline heroes. And right now that's what they're deciding on and whose role and what hero they want to go with.
Yeah, like you said, Frozen could be playing the Tychus or the Zagara. And then it could be like a Vala or a Li Ming, which I personally think Lutano is very good on.
Everything No Tomorrow did by drafting Zeratul, Greymane, and Falstad, they've taken everything that Even in Death likes to do.
They're doing the Illidan.
I wonder that with the variant ban, they committed to it, and against this team, into a Muradin and into an Uther.
That's scary.
I mean, Falstad can go the level 4 static
shield, yeah.
And that way Illidan, you don't have to go hammer gains at that point, right? It's really hard to get auto attacks onto that to get the hammer gains value.
Right.
So you go into that static. If he stays on you, you have hammers dropping down. Yeah. You have this slow. You don't kill Greymane. Greymane will actually just dive on top of you and try and 1v1 you in Worgen form. That's not something you want to go into.
He's got the armor.
And then if you are Illidan and you dive without your team and the Sanctification's not there with Tyrael, even if the Sanctification's there, you can either get zoned out, your team gets zoned out with Void Prison, or you put Void Prison on top of the Sanctification point. We see a potential Divine Storm. You come right out of that. Sanctification does not pause during a VP.
It'll just wear off.
The first person to really address this is KO, who's lurking in the shadows here. He talked about this because it was done in Korea. He made a great video highlighting the points on how that worked. And ever since then, all of a sudden it's like, that's a good idea. Yeah. You know, EU started playing more Tyrael, NA started playing more Tyrael, and then we started to see these counters. It's not necessarily the counter, but it's extremely effective.
This is going to be a hard game because, once again, it feels like the hunt, right? For Even in Death, they're trying to make that hunt surprise onto Falstad work out. Earlier, we saw that in Dragonshire attempted against Zagara because Zagara, she's chunky. She doesn't really run away that well. And Falstad, though, like you already made the case for the static shield, also has barrel roll, also has a slow, not nearly as easy of a target. And if Zeratul happens to be lingering, lights out.
The whole thing is that last hero was a homicidal hero, right?
Yeah.
The only other hero that I've seen in his hero pool for a consistent thing is Leoric. And Leoric on this battleground isn't really that high priority. So what do you fall back on? Genji's gone, Greymane, Zeratul's gone, Dahaka's gone. I mean, you've got to play something. You've got to play something.
You can't not play. Well, Even in Death, they are backed up against the wall. Game number 4. It is Crucible point here for No Tomorrow. We'll see who can take it on Sky Temple.
It is all on the line for both of these teams. More importantly, Even in Death has the hold, but No Tomorrow looking to hold their spot here in game number 4 as they are up 3-0. I want to see what Casanova can do on Zeratul in this game because I know he's made some plays throughout this season.
Even in death. Caution to the wind. Nothing to lose. Just gotta get back into this series and go all out. They've picked a lot of top heroes in Nubarak, Malfurion. Their draft does have that Illidan, which is, you know, if you have the lead, becomes so hard to deal with. But can they keep him alive through the stuns of Uther and Muradin? How synced up are No Tomorrow? We do see the early pressure on this bottom fort, but they are expecting it like a book. Homicidal's just dead.
I was just going to wait and be like, that's what you can expect for the rest of the game. All right, listen, I'm already a little bit irritated. I'm just going to throw this out there. If you're even in death and your life is on the line and you don't pick even in death at level 1 Ethereal,
oh, man.
not dedicated.
Tilted.
Not dedicated.
No passion.
0.
All things considered, though, good read there for No Tomorrow. You know, just acknowledging they're looking for that 4-man push. They waited behind the wall. The moment Illidan stepped in, he died because he wasn't aware of the, you know, the threat that was lurking just behind that wall.
Well, Trees on Greymane. He's going to push in. Homicidal going to return some of that damage, but Tiger JK, the threat of Uther dropping that hammer. Homicidal going to drop right back. Lutano, however, taking a bit of damage as Urho throws out that hammer.
Jason, yeah, good pressure on Jason, though. Going to tap the well. You know, even trades when it comes to the damage thrown out in either assassin. That one death on Illidan doesn't really mean much in the long term. It's just more of a message.
That's a pretty good message if I've ever seen one. And Frozen X and Urho, they're going to battle over the vision for now. But temples are now activatable as we see a split here momentarily. We're going to see which team tries to commit or whether we'll see the trade.
Right, collapse, 3-man collapse, Hammer of Justice, Worgen Forum. We do see the dash is going to be enough to get away from that. So good retreat there. Pulling 3 members down does give them the hero advantage on both shrines. So it's an early start for the siege damage from the structures. They will have to concede this mid lane as the 2 warriors just back off, but still, those shots are permanent.
I'm actually okay with that. If I'm even in death, I'm thinking, you know what? I stole some of those shots. We got the entire temple value. Yeah. We didn't give up the kill, and Illidan is still in the bottom lane. That's actually a winning trade for even in death here in the first few minutes.
Of course,
it's a decent start.
If the rotation worked and they killed him, different story. But he did get away with that bottom lane 3-man rotate, and it was costly for No Tomorrow.
All right, Tree's already starting the push down at the bottom with the siege camp, so that will go on and force a response. Not only that, they're invading onto Illidan at the bottom right on the siege camp.
Yeah, they're going to keep doing this. They know that Illidan is one of the best heroes at getting merc camps in the game. And it's a predictable thing to do after the temples. You go for the giants, right? So they just punish that.
All right, siege giants putting a lot of pressure on this bottom lane, and that sets up the second temple phase. Always going to be at the bottom, and when you start to open up these structures, and there is no response currently for that siege camp pushing in. But the early temple shots can focus that well down. You don't have that retreat point. You don't have that well to tap. So you better hope that you win early in that fight, else you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Ooh, Battery eating a lot of damage. Does manage to get away.
Since there are so many bodies here in the bottom half, Illidan has made his way to the top. He could have started that mercenary camp if he wanted, but it comes a bit of a suboptimal timing since they can just burn through it. Now that he's soaked the experience of the wave, now he's going to begin this bruiser camp. Immolation gives him, you know, makes it pretty quick clear. And of course, he has all the self-sustain in the world. Good push here in the bottom lane actually happening as well as Uther gets picked off.
It's a terrifying golden ghost coming after him. Healing the minions, though.
Hey, man. What else are you going to do?
The minions stay alive a moment longer, and not too bad. And again, we talk about the globals. We talk about the way this works. Falstad, as we see, making the proper rotation. He will be in the top lane. He can fly down to the bottom, whereas Homicidal, he's going to have to give up at some point to go down to the bottom temple phase. These were picked up a little bit early, but as you can see, Zeratul also lurking with Nubarak, but in the bottom, trying to get some early pressure.
Naturally, there's a bit of a benefit if you can tear down that wall and take out the well quickly in the bottom lane for the second temple phase. Both wells are still standing. In the event that the blue side of No Tomorrow managed to get control here, though, it will die pretty darn quick. So even just those few shots you might grab early could become quite impactful in the long term on this phase. And again, Illidan doesn't have the global rotate. Battery trying to burrow charge in with little to no value. Guess he doesn't have the well to tap because he is not going to be utilizing that. Falstad still not flying in. They're just playing patiently right now.
Yeah,
he's looking to fly now.
The prioritization to keep an Uberak up there meant that their camp was still going to be standing, and so they got a good push with Illidan. But now that that fort's gone, there's really no reason to stay. That camp is now taken care of. Yeah, so Illidan going to be a little bit behind, but look for Even in Death to look for an engagement here in just a moment.
Like I said, Even in Death is a team that's saying they like to play the global. And so far, their macro rotations on the global elements of this map, the map of their choice, is looking really good. Talking Trees has to back up. A lot of damage. Hammer Justice going in onto Frozen X, who will die. The death explosion going to be hitting Trees here. Not quite enough for the kills.
You know what would have got the kill there, right?
Even in Death.
Even in Death. Either way, now Battery has the cleanse. He's going to use his burrow to go to the other side there, but Vorpal used by Casanova. Good roots in return. Impale is going to do a bit of damage, but Battery almost dropping there as Jason putting on the damage of Falstad.
Look at their ability to concede this, though. Mid lane is just getting torn apart, and there's an experience lead for Even in Death. Yes, they're going to lose this bottom fort, but they already tore down top, and mid has also opened up very nicely from the pressure that we saw there from Homicidal and Lutano. Trees by himself for the moment, but Murden is around the corner, so not as vulnerable as you might think.
My biggest question marks are, is this going to be Hunt, and is it going to be Divine Storm? Hunt is picked up. Divine Storm, generally not going to be the #1 choice in a lot of scenarios, but when you have this type of team composition and you want to kill that Illidan, it's a hell of a lot more appealing.
Definitely a case for it. Even it's a solid follow-up to VP. It's not quite Twilight Dream, but it is a solid follow-up to VP if you can get in the right position where they're looking to rotate or retreat.
He's holding it. And if you hold it, then you know, wait a minute, Tyrael's holding his. Is this going to be the old school Judgment Hunt game?
Cocoon the Uther, Judgment Hunt.
Anybody? It's really hard on Murden.
It's a lot of eggs in one basket. Trees gets hunted, and he should end up dying. And Divine Shield actually ends up being forced out. The Cocoon was just a moment too late.
Now that it makes Judgment much more appealing. And it is locked in. They forced out the Divine Shield. It might not have been priority target, but it is now. Tiger JK gets body blocked in. There goes the Hunt, or excuse me, the Judgment. And it does secure the kill on that back line. They might not be done yet, but Urho coming over. Battery taking a bit of damage on his way out.
And just like that, Even in Death are living. We found the pulse of this team. Signs of life on another planet.
Was that baited out? Was that Divine Storm baited out with that Hunt originally? Because he locked it in, he put the Divine Shield on it, making Divine Storm no longer an option, which makes Judgment a very viable thing now. And you called it. If they can Cocoon Uther in these moments, somebody's going down.
And it almost happened there, too, which would have just been an even quicker pick, but still a great engagement there. They're going to end up getting the boss and then be able to collapse here. Murden's going to have to safely just use that Dwarf Toss over the wall, conceding the rest of the pressure here. Illidan's making his way to mid. Now they have that global of the Hunt to make him be able to challenge the Falstad quite nicely. He's going to the Bruiser camp. This is a nice call because, they're not... Oh, actually, realizing he might be able to go to the top shrine, changing his route, skirting around the edge of the watchtower. And that's going to be a lot of siege damage, J-How.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's back up on the side of No Tomorrow, so you get about 3/4, about 60% of the bottom temple. You rotate to the top, you get the full value out of that, which means that that is a winning trade for you to have that temple value. You now find yourself a full level up. You now find yourself taking down the last fort with this top temple. And Homicidal, a big reason because of it.
Okay, so we're going to see the mid-fort fall. That's going to help the experience towards 13 even up, narrowing that window for the talent tier advantage that Even in Death currently have in this game number 4. But Even in Death, like you mentioned earlier, just the fact that it's Divine Shield, there's you just kind of wait for that to be used. After the Hunt, the Judgment, they become such a monster threat. And they can make a lot of different flexible moves in their draft. Very flexible team, burrow charge, and also invading. Feeling confident with that 13 advantage. Gonna steal the camp. Feels like a different team we're watching right now.
Frozen X walks right by Tiger JK. Walks right past him with the bush. He's like, I dare you I dare you to hop off that mount. But now you've got double camp pressure. The top temple did a lot of work. That top temple shot at the top keep after that middle fort was down. That's how it works. So now you've got all things considered working in your favor.
This is a case for Odin to just siege up the keep, right? If they're feeling like they can take this fight, but no, just too much lane clear, they're going to play it safe, not commit to it too much. They already got the wall. They've already got some good, like a little bit of damage onto that one tower. And the next temple that spawns the top half of the map is threatening keep.
That's a big deal. I mean, they have one fort standing still for even in death. They have the advantage. They no longer have the talent tier advantage. They're not going to be as aggressive. They seem to be playing a much more disciplined approach right now. They look like they considered invading, backed out, and they're just going to trade siege camps here. I like even in death taking this more cautious approach.
Currently, even talents, but still a big lead there for even in death. Watchtower being lost to Zeratul, one of those like nice safe utilities you can use to roam and grab some vision back for your team. They are still pushed in for the most part. Safe rotation of battery. Just throwing the Impale out. Will burrow back. No collapse in. I mean, he's got Tyrell on the top, his team on the bottom.
I mean, think about this: is soaking lanes. You know, there's no the boss threat isn't as appealing this early, but it doesn't force your rotation out. You can safely soak lanes as even in death without the fear of something happening and without you knowing. All the camps are obtained. The night camps were already obtained. Now we've got a single temple phase. If you're even in death, you don't have to be aggressive early. You're close to 16, but with all 5 members here, you're basically committing to the fact that you're probably going to be throwing down soon.
Yeah, you see they're trying to force the fight right now during that window. The VP on the backside is quite good. Lutano going to be using that Odin to get the armor and try to stay alive. Judgment buying some space. He needs a nice Twilight Dream as well, stalling this out, but the Avatar of Urho is there in time. Trees going to be using that to escape, and then Gus comes out from Jason. Frozen X looking very low, but they keep him alive, and now that Odin is just applying some big damage. Overall, pretty even fight. 16 around the corner.
Yeah, but everybody's felt pretty low, but you've got Malfurion on your side. He can throw out the heals for days there. You can see all the health bars are back up. Urho being very aggressive. Right now, even in death is split. And Frozen X being dove upon on the backside. Battery, however, is channeling momentarily. Again, they are really close to 16. Let's see. Man. They're sending Illidan top to soak that lane. Battery's going to dive over the wall. Lutano, though, however, is getting locked down. The run and gun, that's not going to keep him alive. Yeah,
he goes down here. Good collapse there. Urho getting the dwarf toss forward. Means he's vulnerable for the next second. Don't think the roots are going to connect, unfortunately for them. The burrow goes down. They judgment on in or hunt on in to try to get the kill, but Muradin is just so tanky with that armor from Tiger JK, and suddenly, even in death, might have overcommitted in this 4v5 situation.
You can't do that. He has healing static at 13. The minute you collapse on top of him, he presses W, heals up 5% for each person that hits, and it's a double clap at level 4. So you just instantly heal up. I mean, that's a 10.
That's a 10. Well, we do see No Tomorrow sitting up way up at this point, catching that experience off or right on down as they are going to hit level 16, and the window has been closed. Experience-wise, it's even. Structurally, it's slightly in favor of even in death, but that fight really did cost them a lot.
All right, 16 talent here, even. They get the Stormbolt onto Tyrael, who, again, has Holy Ground. They've turned their attention. The double stun down.
Sophist. Might have had to disconnect, so because our admin decides there's an issue. So we'll figure out why we got to pause soon.
Yeah, and you can see a screenshot. All right, so we have a pause request there, but they turn their attention to Battery, who's sitting at about 40% health, and I believe we saw a Benediction picked up by Uther, because I saw a double stun right as that came in, so I think the double stun did go down. We're going to see if they can finish that when we come back. We are waiting word on what happened there, but even in death, man, they were about 15, almost 15 and a half. They got a little impatient, got a little over-aggressive. You got to think that their early game, are they just feeling that confident? Are they starting to feel the pressure? It's one way or another. That last minute is a little rough.
They were so close to 16 when they took that fight.
And, well, Battery had already backed out. Battery stayed in position because he's like, I can burrow under this wall as we're going to head back into the game now. But he can burrow under that wall. Lutano, however, was postured up. And as we head back in here, we'll see. We're going to keep an eye on Anubarak as he is going to make his way out here. But VP.
Oh, boy.
Oh, that's
Malf. Aisublaku, but the Gust is going to keep him isolated, and the Twilight has been used. Monster cooldown 90 seconds. If they get the kill, maybe it's worth it. Trees trying to slip in the shadows, but Lutano on the Odin. Oh, Divine Shield at the last possible moment. There's a big rage on the Odin. Druins might go in forward. They manage to get Zeratul in the back. Trees will fall, and the triple kill. Even without Mouth, they are holding on. Even in death are in this game.
Just like that, they turn the team fight. Forget that. The silence there was way too powerful. Jason, though, you don't need a healer when you have this team, especially Illidan. They're hopping on another boss. They're going to get max value out of this. Siege camps are up. They'll be able to obtain the boss, obtain some siege camps, and before we know it, the next temple phase is going to be there is Jason, the lone remaining member on the side of No Tomorrow.
Even if he wanted to try to get a cheeky Gust in, not possible. 9 seconds left on that cooldown. Boss going to go down bottom. They can put some siege camps behind this boss and try to walk it in, pressure that keep. Now, every member will be up for the defense, and it's a long haul.
I'd love to see them go top left and grab that camp and push that top keep. They have already opened that top keep. You can go up there and put that pressure on. You also have the top temple available to you. You have everything that you can do. Instead, they're going to opt to get middle keep wall, stretch their experience lead just a little bit.
Oh, the collapse is here. Malfurion and Illidan not quite on the point yet. Cocoon used to buy some time. We do see the hunt going in onto the fall side in the backside, but Lutano, he is the current focus. Heals coming in. They're good. They get the kill on Zeratul.
They are, and now we see at the bottom there, Homicidal gets taken down. Illidan not able to make it out of there. It's a 1-for-1 trade for the moment as we see Even in Death starting to retreat. However, the Siege Camp and Boss pushing in this bottom lane will get some keep damage. And this is very threatening. That keep is taking a lot right now.
Look, there's so many minions that are all just focusing on in the catapults as well, being a big part of this push.
The siege camps, the siege camps have changed their attention, but do they get the splash damage?
They're gonna hold, just barely.
Yeah, they'll have to attack false. Oh, they don't. I forget. It changes priority after
the minions, then the hero. But yeah, I mean that's a big deal. Getting the keep down with that push. Now they're controlling top, which will also challenge this fort. Tiger JK currently here on his own, but the collapsing material on the bottom right.
Here's the thing is that they're starting to posture up. They don't have 20 yet. Frozen X goes down. The hunt is available for Illidan. We're going to see if he joins this as we see the Mighty Gusts now posture them into a corner. They're going in deep. The Ice Block going to keep Howl alive for a while. Lutano is basically done in this point. Urho with that Iron Forge momentum. He's going to be able to stay on top of this battery, doing everything he can to hold him back, but that is going to be Malfurion going down.
Wow. Just like that. They thought they were safe on the point, just fighting Uther, but the pick on Tyrael, not being able to respond to it in time, then they just kind of fell apart, got completely separated. You saw the early Divine Shield to make sure they could put the pressure on hard towards that Tychus. Yes, the bottom keep went down, but the experience is being evened up, and map control goes to No Tomorrow.
And that bottom temple still has a lot left in it. This top keep is going to go down. It's going to even up the keep count, but it's also going to give that distance closer in terms of experience. Battery has to make sure not to get caught out. This keep is already gone. Let it go. Illidan soaking for 20 in the middle. Level 20 right on the precipice. As we can see, Seasoned Marksman also picked up for Falstad.
Falstad becomes a beast late game when you get that farmed up. And it's a big win for him in that regard. A personal power spike. We do see the top keep is low from the few shots that were able to be grabbed there for Even in Death. Just about level 20, but experience lead now No Tomorrows and even on the structure count.
I wonder how Even in Death is going to approach this. I mean, this is a full temple. You can't give this up. They need 20, which they'll have momentarily. They're going to have to start to rotate down. This might be the moment that decides it all for one of these teams as this bottom temple stands, and we can see Urho already rotating to try and sniff this out.
Benefit here, boss down for 2 more minutes. That's something that could be a vulnerability on the side of No Tomorrow, not having that keep. Battery taking a ton of damage at the top of the fight here, and the VP on 3 members. Do they have that perfect sanctification to deny the Gust?
Jason already used his flight. The Ice Block is used. Bolt out by House. Going to keep him alive. The Hunt and the Judgment goes down. The big red button will secure the kill onto Greymane.
Oh, the power coming through with that Hunt on the back. Casanova blinking on in, big red button, big damage, but he blinks out at the last moment. 1-0 for the kills. Even in Death, gonna grab this Merc Camp. They've got the control in bottom. If they hold this bottom temple, it's focusing the mid keep. It's not game over quite yet. Boss up in about 1 minute.
I mean, that is, 1 pick is all it's gonna take to control this bottom temple, and that's all that they need. This middle keep now gonna start to be threatened. Again, that top temple would focus the top keep. This one focuses the one closest to it. So that's why it's focusing the middle. But siege camps, we now have 2 siege camps. Will they posture up? Illidan cleaning up the catapults and the minions in the top that are beginning to mount up. But right now, this game is tense.
It's really anyone's to grab. 2-2 on the structures. That keep about to fall. Few shots remain, not enough to remove the final keep here on the top side of No Tomorrow. But they are looking low. Another temple phase with 2 temples on the board. Gonna make things quite difficult for No Tomorrow.
All right. 1 keep remains with barely any health, which means 1 temple phase can potentially end this. So if it's a 2-temple thing, No Tomorrow will be on the back foot. They will be forced to fight. All the camps have been obtained. You talked about the boss being the only point of contention that's going to be on the map before the next temple phase. So No Tomorrow, they're either going to have to fight, force a fight on the temple, or they're going to try and force a fight now. They're posturing up. Falstad's starting to make his way up. He does have Epic Mount.
Yep.
They're going in.
Okay, retreat burrow. Here's the Falstad right on top of Frozen X. Not really the optimal situation for him. The Judgment over the wall with the hunt, but he was baited on in. Divine Shield still available. Twilight Dream is too much, though.
And there's the big red button. Casanova being healed up on the backside. Tiger JK dropping the hammer onto Homicidal, who's receiving the heal, staying alive. They're continuing to put the pressure on. Urho continuing to stay on. They have to prioritize a different target, and now we see Malfurion has go down. This is tough as Divine Shield is out. Lutano taking a lot of damage right now.
That armor is paying dividends, and the big red button crashing down, finding another kill. This is a moment where Illidan is the bane of your existence. He will chase.
Stay on this. They have to stay on this, Uther. He's going to be coming back to life here in just a moment. They have the tools to stay on it. They have to wait for him to come back and stay on. There it is. The holy ground locks him in, and Casanova caught on the wrong side, and he goes down as well.
Frozen and Lutano were both so low, but with 4 members alive versus 1, the boss becomes an option. But 2 temples spawn, they don't need it.
All I know is that holy ground was so well timed. They played that beautifully. I am so impressed by those last few sequences on the side of Even in Death. They're going to get boss pressure. They're going to fall back towards the temples, and that is going to be their win. This is their game to lose.
This is absolutely their game to lose. Even in Death are inches away from putting a number on the board and keeping the dream alive. The boss will be picked up. Falstad flying in. Does a yellow gust. There's no sanctification. The burrow. Well done from Battery to make sure nothing cheating can happen, and now he hunts in. The Judgment is there. This is game over. Even in Death can just sit on the temple point, sip their coffee, and bring it to game 5.
Wow. Even in Death, rising from the dead, they use the Judgment. If we go all the way back to level 10, Jake, they were able to use the hunt to get on Greymane to force Divine Shield picked up. As that's actually not where you want to be if you're Frozen X. That's the only way you can lose, but either way.
It doesn't matter. You go back
to that moment at level 10 when they got Divine Shield baited out, and then they're like, now we can pick Judgment. And ever since then, they've made it work.
Big victory there for Even in Death. Putting a number on the board, getting some momentum behind them, clearing their heads. I mean, after that really tragic defeat on Brax's Holdout, a map they chose where they just got slapped around.
That was brutal, but we now look, we have ourselves a resurrected. We talked about the small battlegrounds that we saw in the first 3 picks. We see a bigger battleground, which was chosen by Even in Death. It finally worked out for them. They had the early game control outside of losing Illidan in the first 30 seconds. And then beyond that, it seemed like things started to go their way. Even when things got bad, they still had enough map control by doing some of that early pressure that it wasn't as a devastating blow as it would be if you were neutral or on the other end. The fact that they were able to maintain and hold, I am super impressed with a lot of their late game decisions. When they brought Illidan back at the bottom, they ended up getting the fight at the top as Falstad flew in the wrong place. And there was just a lot of really good decisions that they made individually as a team to make that work. And a lot of the decisions they made in that holy ground towards the end, they knew he was coming back, but the timing on it was so precise. And then Casanova getting caught on the wrong side there on Greymane, it's like, this is bad. And the fact that they were able to stay alive, even better.
Yeah, a lot of close calls for sure, Even in Death. Have a point on the board. We're going to get ready for game number 5. We'll be back in just a few. Stay tuned. really the optimal
Judgment.
situation for him. The judgment over the wall with the hunt, but he was baited on in. Divine Shield still available. Twilight Dream is too much, though.
And there's the big red button. Casanova being healed up on the backside. Tiger JK dropping the hammer onto Homicidal, who's receiving the heal, staying alive. They're continuing to put the pressure on. Urho continuing to stay on. They have to prioritize a different target. And now we see Malfurion has go down. This is tough as Divine Shield is out. Lutano taking a lot of damage right now.
That armor is paying dividends, and the big red button crashing down, finding another kill. This is a moment where Illidan is the bane of your existence. He will chase.
Stay on this. They have to stay on this, Uther. He's going to be coming back to life here in just a moment. They have the tools to stay on it. They